Death of Fidel Castro. The remains of Cuba's former leader continue the trek across the country today. This is video from this afternoon. People lining the street to watch the ashes go by. The remains are nearing their final destination of Santiago de Cuba, and that's where our Local 10 News crews have set up to capture how the historic city is preparing for this weekend's funeral. My partner Calvin Hughes is right there live in Santiago de Cuba with the latest. Calvin.
Well, Lori, good afternoon. You can hear some noise happening right behind me. We're not quite sure what that is over there, but that's all part of the preparations here in the main plaza in Santiago de Cuba for a mass rally that's going to take place here at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Let me step out of the way and show you how some of the workers right behind me are getting ready right now, setting the stage for what will be a number of dignitaries who will once again attend a mass rally for the remembrance of Fidel Castro, a memorial service or funeral, if you will, for the former Cuban leader. Tourists are out here taking pictures, but this has pretty much been the scene here for most of the day here in the main plaza. Once again, the rally is set for 7 o'clock tomorrow. Now, as for breaking news, it's happening right now with a caravan for the ashes of Fidel Castro. They have arrived in Holguin. It was a public memorial service that took place in Camagüey last night for people who attended, and hundreds showed up after lining the streets there in preparation for the caravan. But as for Holguin, the city is now preparing and receiving the ashes of Fidel Castro. And in Las Tunas yesterday, people were preparing for the so-called Caravan of Liberty as well, with the remains of Castro in a cedarwood box or casket to arrive. People there also say that they lined the streets waving the Cuban flags in honor of Fidel Castro. And here's a map to show the procession of how the remains of Fidel Castro have gone from province to province, beginning in Havana and then traveling hundreds of miles, and then last night once again staying in Camagüey. The remains of Castro stayed there once again for people to have a public service. They attended by the hundreds in that city. So once again, the breaking news is that the remains of Castro have arrived in Holguin. As for Santiago, it is preparing to welcome world leaders at tomorrow's mass rally for Fidel Castro. We are still at least a day away from that memorial service, but here's a look at how the government and its organizers are getting ready. Workers put down platforms for the media. Even some school children were out to lay down some of the chairs that are going to be used by people who will attend here, mainly for the dignitaries and for the prime ministers and presidents who will be in attendance. They were out here at about 1 o'clock, and barricades were also set up for the crowd control as well for thousands who are expected to fill this plaza tomorrow. Once again, let's bring you out now to another live picture of workers that are still making every minute count in anticipation of the rally that is going to take place tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And we'll have much more on that coming up in just a moment. And then tonight at 5:30, or rather 5 o'clock, we are going to show you how the next generation of Cubans, young Cuban Americans, are getting ready for their future and thinking about how the government is in control here and also how the government operates, but also just about their future as well. My colleague Glenna Milberg will have much more on that. But for now, I'll send it back to you in the studio, Lori and Victor.
All right, Calvin, thank you so much. We'll look for you in just about 30 minutes. Do stay with Local 10 News for continuous team coverage from Cuba. Calvin, Glenna Milberg, and Hatzel Vela are staying there in Cuba during this week and weekend, covering the mourning and funeral of Fidel Castro.